Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I begin my budget speech, I'd like to make a couple thank yous, if I could. Thank you to my new constituency assistant, Maddie Fass. She helped me. Yes, here. She helped me prepare this reply that you're going to hear from today, and I think it's pretty good. So I wanted to make sure that I got a thank you into her. Mr. Speaker, on April 4th, residents of Saskatchewan had a choice. We could continue to be a have province with a sound record of financial management, AAA credit rating, job growth, reduced surgical wait times and senior support, just to name a few, or we could go back to being a have-not province under the NDP, relying on federal equalization payments to fund provincial government services, increasing taxes, killing jobs, and scaring our population away. 21 times, Mr. Speaker, the NDP raised taxes during their 16 years in government. And Mr. Speaker, can you believe the NDP government lost nearly $300 million taxpayers' dollars in failed business ventures, many of which weren't even in Saskatchewan? Mr. Speaker, I could go on and on with reasons why the people of Saskatchewan voted with a resounding yes for our leadership just a short 2 months ago. On April 4th, Saskatchewan spoke, Mr. Speaker, and what they told us is that our party is the party they trust to keep taxes low and the economy steady during the slower times. According to a recent Conference Board of Canada report, Saskatchewan has among the lowest personal and business tax burdens in Canada. Mr. Speaker, they spoke loud and clear, and we are indeed humbled by their trust. You see, Mr. Speaker, the residents of Saskatoon University and all of Saskatchewan chose to keep Saskatchewan strong. This budget is fiscally responsible. We are keeping taxes low, controlling operational spending, while continuing to make important investments in infrastructure and in important government services for the Saskatchewan people. And Mr. Speaker, people from other provinces and countries are seeing our success and saying, I want to live there. And guess what? They are. In fact, Mr. Speaker, since our party was elected in 2007, Saskatchewan has grown by over 132,000 people. Saskatchewan is indeed the place to raise your family, work, and retire. Mr. Speaker, in my address in reply to the speech from the throne, I had stated how most residents of Saskatchewan in their lifetime use medical services one way or the other. My family is no exception. My niece Anna has some extreme health difficulties and has been in and out of hospitals in her short 7 years of life. Healthcare is something that is extremely important to the people of this province. We need to have excellent care for our citizens in order to provide the quality of life we all expect and we all deserve. Sadly, this hasn't always been the case in Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. It is our government that stand up for those who are in most need in our province. While the NDP talked, we acted. The Saskatchewan Cancer Agency is receiving more than $167 million in funding in this budget, up $9.8 million from last year, or 6.2%. The substantial increase in funding will help pay for the addition of 15 new cancer drugs that were approved last year. Since 2007, funding for the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency has increased by nearly 113%. Mr. Speaker, the health budget includes $500,000 to fulfill the government's campaign commitment to expand its robotic telemedicine to more northern communities. This project allows healthcare professionals to connect with patients remotely and provide real-time assessment, diagnosis, and patient management. The budget is also reducing RHA administration expenses by $7.5 million and reinvesting that funding to frontline staff in our long-term care homes. This equals a 5% reduction in general administration costs to be determined as part of the RHA budget finalization in the coming months. Capital investments total $71.4 million in 2016-17, including a 25% increase for capital maintenance across the province. Capital funding is also being provided for a power plant upgrade at Saskatoon Saskatoon Royal University Hospital, electrical renewal projects at Regina's General and Pasqua Hospitals, and completion of construction at the Kelvington Integrated Care Facility. Mr. Speaker, we all know that these projects would not have flourished, let alone have gotten off the ground, under the leadership of the NDP. In fact, the NDP government closed 52 hospitals under their so-called leadership. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, the University of Saskatchewan will be receiving strong investment from Budget 216-17. Mr. Speaker, our government is investing $475 million for the University of Saskatchewan and Regina and their affiliated and federated colleges. The word investment appears 85 times in our budget. Mr. Speaker, the verb invest, by definition, is, and I quote, to put to use by purchase or expenditures in something offering profitable returns as interest, income, or appreciation in value, end quote. And that is exactly what this government believes in. Our young people are going to be aided through more than $53 million in direct support, $32.5 million for the Student Aid Fund to provide student grants, bursaries and loans, $14.3 million for scholarships, including the Saskatchewan Advantage Scholarship, and $6.5 million for the Saskatchewan Advantage Grant for education savings. Mr. Speaker, this government is investing in our young people. Unlike the NDP days where tuition costs increased by 175%, when government had no program for reducing Saskatchewan students' tuition. Mr. Speaker, the only investment the residents of Saskatchewan could have been confident in during the NDP days were shares in luggage manufacturing companies. I'm excited for the new First Home Plan that gives eligible graduates the ability to use up to $10,000 of their future graduate retention program tax credits as an interest-free loan to use toward the down payment on their first home in our province. There's never been a better time to graduate and to stay in Saskatchewan. Last week I attended 2 of 7 convocations at the University of Saskatchewan, and I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, we want them to stay here and we want them to be successful here, and we are making that happen. Included in Budget 216-17, Mr. Speaker, are operating grants to the province's 2 main universities that eclipse $475 million. $156 million will be provided to the Sask Polytechnic, SIIT, and Gabriel Dumont Institute. $25 million will be provided for Saskatchewan's regional colleges. Mr. Speaker, our government remains committed to student success, post-secondary, high school, and elementary. That is why we are increasing our investment in education by 7.8% to a total of $2.2 billion. While the NDP shut down schools, 176 to be exact, Mr. Speaker, our government has invested in 40 brand new or replacement schools and 25 major school renovations. On this side of the floor, we are ensuring students in Saskatchewan are safe and successful in their learning years. This could not be done without the strong leadership and guidance of our teachers. Mr. Speaker, I come from a family of teachers, and I can tell you right now, there is no group of more dedicated, selfless, and empathetic people who only want the best for our children and grandchildren. They are tireless and will advocate for their students until their needs are met. And this government will be there with them, helping to ensure another generation of young people stay here and help keep Saskatchewan strong. Mr. Speaker, from 2000 to 2007, under the NDP, the number of teachers teaching here in Saskatchewan schools declined by 400. Thankfully, my mother was not one of them. Our government is funding more teachers and student support teachers than ever before. It is our government that has the record of standing up for our teachers and our educational system. Mr. Speaker, the government's investment in infrastructure for our education ministry includes $310 million, an increase of $153 million for the 18 joint-use schools being built on 9 sites. $33.4 million, an increase of $6.4 million, or 24%, for preventative maintenance and renewal. $4.6 million for emergency building repairs. $41.9 million for ongoing capital projects, including schools in St. Brew, Langenburg, Gravelbourg, and Martensville, as well as $1 million for school facility assessments. The government remains committed to supporting early education and childcare across the province, including the creation of 810 new childcare spaces that are being developed as part of the 18 new elementary schools currently under construction on 9 joint-use sites in Saskatoon, Regina, Warman, and Martensville. In order to meet the needs of a growing and diverse province, the Ministry's 2016-17 budget increases funding for classroom supports by $4 million. Government is providing $288 million to school divisions for supports for learning funding in the 2016-17 school year. This funding includes supports for students with intensive needs, students in vulnerable circumstances, and students who require English as an additional language support. In addition, $5.4 million of school operating funding is being targeted to support Syrian refugee students. Funding for youth at high-risk facilities is also increasing by $600,000 over last year to help address salary and enrollment pressures for a total investment of $5.8 million. Mr. Speaker, in Saskatoon, we appreciate these new investments into our community and into our future. We are hopeful that they will continue to grow and that we will need many more joint-use schools very soon. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in Saskatchewan's history, the Highways and Infrastructure budget tops $1 billion. This marks another record investment in provincial roads and infrastructure. The $1.15 billion 2016-17 Highways and Infrastructure budget includes $355 million for capital construction, $30 million in new funding for the first year of the Highways 2020 plan, a 3-year $70 million surge in highway repair and maintenance, and $500 million for the Regina Bypass. More than 1,300 kilometres of provincial highways will see repairs or upgrades this year. Work will also continue on major projects like the Regina Bypass and twinning of Highway 7 and 16 near Saskatoon. Mr. Speaker, our government has always believed in the true Saskatchewan way, helping your neighbour. These neighbours that require help sometimes are children, youth and families, people with disabilities, and people needing income assistance and housing. Our government has been a trailblazer in investing in our people when they need it the most. Social Services 2016-17 budget is $1.052 billion, a 5.1% increase from last fiscal year. This is good news for people of Saskatchewan who are needing a helping hand. Mr. Speaker, people in Saskatchewan with disabilities will see a $210 million dedicated to the Saskatchewan Assured Income for Disability program to help make life better. The 2016-17 budget also includes $3.8 million for housing programs. The Saskatchewan Housing Corporation will support the Disability Strategy, Poverty Reduction Strategy, and Mental Health and Addictions Policy Action Plan by focusing on accessible, affordable housing for those most in need. It's hard to believe that under the NDP, people with disabilities had no income assistance program. Mr. Speaker, our government isn't going to let that happen again. In my constituency of Saskatoon University, there is the Sherbrooke Community Centre. This care home has been open since 1966. There are 263 residents, 100 Community Day program participants, 500 volunteers, family, friends, students, pets, and over 500 staff members. This community centre has been an innovator to long-term care. They have implemented many unique programs and services, which is indeed keeping its residents happy, healthy, and involved in their community. Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate to think that a facility like this would have been affected by the NDP's freeze on the seniors' income plan and their attempt to raise monthly fees for seniors in long-term care to 90% of the seniors' income. Mr. Speaker, seniors under our leadership have seen the SIP program tripled to $270 per month and have been introduced to a new personal care home benefit, which helps provide low-income seniors over $4,600 per year on average to assist with the cost of living in a care home. This budget is reducing the regional health authorities' administrations by $7.5 million and reinvesting that funding to frontline staff in long-term care homes. These are direct dollars facilities like Sherbrooke will see and be able to utilize to improve the lives of the people they serve. Mr. Speaker, last year, my mayor, Mayor Don Acheson, said, and I quote, "I don't know how much more the City of Saskatoon could actually ask for," end quote. Mr. Speaker, when the mayor of the biggest city in our province can say those words about our government's budget, you know you have the right government getting the job done. Our government recognizes the need for infrastructure dollars. Budget 216-17 provides more than $3.5 billion for infrastructure, the largest single-year capital investment in the province's history. Mr. Speaker, my city, Saskatoon, will receive more than $48.5 million in municipal revenue sharing this year. Mr. Speaker, due to complete in 2018, the North Commuter Parkway Bridge project in Saskatoon will support the transportation needs of citizens in the Northeast and the North Industrial areas. Budget 216-17 provides $10 million towards this important project. This investment will provide significant benefits to the citizens of Saskatoon and, in fact, our whole province. Once completed, this bridge will be providing critical commuter connections in key areas of the city, addressing traffic congestion, reducing intersection delays, shortening travel times, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Mr. Speaker, traffic volume is expected to be up to 21,700 vehicles per day when this bridge opens. This will result in a 9% reduction in existing traffic using the Circle Drive North Bridge and additional reductions in traffic across the city's other bridges. Mr. Speaker, it was tough times under the NDP government. In over 16 years of governance, they only managed to invest just $5 billion in infrastructure projects. They cut revenue sharing to municipalities several times and failed to implement a stable, predictable formula for municipal revenue sharing. Since we have formed government, Mr. Speaker, citizens in this province have seen infrastructures go up. Our highways, schools and hospitals have benefited from much-needed infrastructure dollars. This year, the provincial government's revenue sharing with municipalities will approach $272 million, up $6.4 million from last year, and an increase of $144 million, or more than 113% since 2007. Our party introduced a formula that ties the municipal revenue sharing to the province's economic growth by providing 1 point of the provincial sales tax to our municipalities. Mr. Speaker, as the Regina Leader-Post writes, quote, "Municipal officials agreed that, as Mayor Michael Fugere puts it, cities came out unscathed and could even look on the budget positively, given the environment. Communities, both urban and rural, will see record revenue sharing and hiked funding for municipal infrastructure." End quote. Mr. Speaker, revenue sharing plays an important role in helping our municipalities meet the needs of people in cities, towns and villages, and also in rural Saskatchewan. Urban revenue sharing for all cities, towns, villages and resort villages will amount to almost $175 million in 2016-17. Revenue sharing from rural municipalities, which includes organized hamlets, will total $76.7 million, and northern municipalities will receive just under $20.3 million this fiscal year. This budget also provides $83.8 million in provincial support to municipal infrastructure through various programs. $21.4 million from the Ministry of Government Relations for provincial support under the new Building Canada Fund, $23.7 million from the Ministry of Highways and Infrastructure for rural roads through the Municipal Road Strategy and the Urban Connector Program. The budget also provides $50.8 million in other funding to municipalities from ministries, including grants for such services and facilities as libraries, policing, urban parks, and transit assistance. Investments in university facilities, regional colleges, and training facilities will help keep Saskatchewan strong today and into the future. In 2016-17, $25.8 million is targeted for capital in the area of advanced education and training, with an estimated $170 million provided to the sector over the next 4 years. This is good news for Saskatchewan University constituents. The Saskatoon Regional Economic Development Authority says, quote, "Sarita welcomes the approach taken in 2016-17 budget to keep the Saskatchewan economy strong during this period of economic transformation. The continued investment in infrastructure, training and agriculture bode well for the Saskatoon region economy, as does the focus on keeping taxes low and controlling operational spending." End quote. Mr. Speaker, this budget contains no tax increases. In fact, since 2007, the Saskatchewan Party has provided nearly $6 billion in tax reductions to families, individuals, homeowners, businesses, and farmers. We now enjoy, right here in Saskatchewan, one of the lowest personal and business tax burdens in Canada, according to the Conference Board of Canada. I have to say it again, Mr. Speaker, that the NDP raised taxes 21 times in the last 16 years in government. 21 times, which is kind of hard to do, Mr. Speaker, as there is only one budget per year. Our record, on the other hand, is that we have delivered record property tax reductions and record income tax reductions. A family of four now, Mr. Speaker, with a combined income of $50,000 has seen their income tax reduced by 100%. They will pay no provincial income tax in 2016. The Saskatchewan Party has reduced taxes for Saskatchewan people at every income level and eliminated the PST on used cars. Under the NDP from 2000 to 2007, Saskatchewan had the worst economic growth rate in Canada, averaging just 1.7% per year, well below the national average of 2.5%. From 2008 to 2015, with the Saskatchewan Party in government, Saskatchewan has had the best economic growth rate in Canada, averaging 2.5% per year, well above the national average of 1.6%. Mr. Speaker, as an example of what the municipal revenue sharing money is used for in Saskatoon, in the 2015 business plan and budget, the city received $47.4 million from the municipal revenue sharing. In a general sense, the city allocated this money to various business lines to help them deliver programs and services that A, increase public safety, B, improve mobility of vehicles and people, and C, enhance the city's overall quality of life. The City of Saskatoon allocated the municipal revenue sharing fund their share as follows. Police received $11.4 million, transportation $10.4 million, fire $7.1 million, recreation and parks $5.7 million, transit received $4.7 million, Mr. Speaker. Waste reduction was almost $2 million, Mr. Speaker, and other important initiatives took $3.8 million. This funding is very important to the City of Saskatoon and the people it serves. Without it, the City of Saskatoon's clients and citizens wouldn't get the level of service that they get today. That money is very important, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, under the NDP government from 1991 to 2007, 56,000 more people moved out of Saskatchewan than moved in, and Saskatchewan's population stayed flat at around just 1 million people. Since the Sask Party was elected in 2007, over 85,000 more people have moved to Saskatchewan than moved out, and Saskatchewan's population has grown by over 132,000 people to an all-time high of over 1,142,000 people. You have to ask yourself why, Mr. Speaker. It's because of opportunity, prosperity, and optimism. That's why people come here, and that's why people are staying. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to support Budget 2016-17. Saskatchewan families, seniors, and students will be better off under another term of our government. A fragile global economy coupled with sharp declines in oil and potash prices present considerable challenges to our province's economy, its finances, and its people. We are continuing to keep taxes low, ensure sustainability of core services, and keep Saskatchewan strong. Mr. Speaker, I support the 2016-17 budget moved by the Minister of Finance and seconded by the member from Regina University with no amendments. Thank you.